Quote, guess what?
Chicken butt.
I had a job interview yesterday.
Whoa.
I know.
That's crazy.
It's absolutely bonkers.
Do you want to tell our viewers what it's like to interview for a job?
I think we should.
Let's do it. All right. Well, let's hear about it. What was the job interview like?
Okay, so I'll give the lead up into what the job interview was like, because there's kind of the whole process of getting a job, right? So I went online through our university. I was looking for job listings, and I found one that was video marketing specialist at the Museum of Art.
You know a few things about video editing.
I know a few things, and I was like, hey, I think I could do that. So I submitted my resume, which is kind of that list of all of my experience, all my interests, and like all the skills that I have that I think would be valuable for this position. So I submitted that, and then I got an email from the guy that was running interviews. He's like, hey, our system didn't let you submit a portfolio, so I need you to send some stuff.
Like,
So-
yo, look, I got a whole YouTube channel.
So it's like, check this out.
Yeah.
Check this out.
Yeah.
I've got Học Tiếng Anh OK. I've got some short films. I've got some ads. I've got some music that I've written.
Porsche.
Take
you
a
ever heard
look.
of them?
Yeah.
Did a video for them. That's crazy.
Yeah, that was a fun project. It was weird. I'm not really an actor, so it's like having me act in that role was kind of fun. But anyways, I send the portfolio. He says, it looks good. All right, let's set up a time to interview you. It'll take like 20 or 30 minutes. So I gave him a day, and that day was yesterday. So I went in, and first things first,
Oh, it was in person.
it was in person.
Nice.
Yeah, super nice.
A lot of times they're not in person. Sometimes they're just on the computer.
Which I feel like in some ways is kind of weird, like a little bit of a disconnect.
Yeah.
But I don't know. Yeah, so this one was in person. So I showed up to the museum, and the guy pulled up, and he's like, hey, are you David? I was like, yeah, I'm David. Are you Riley? He's like, yeah, I'm Riley. We shake hands. The handshake is very important. See, that's the first moment where you like show your commitment, right?
Do you want to show them what a good handshake looks like?
This is a good handshake. Oh, yeah. See, you go solid connection, firm handshake. If you do one of those limp little things...
Yeah, you don't want that. And you also want to get good eye contact. You want to look them right in the eye.
Yes, because that's a way to show confidence.
Yeah.
And they want someone that's confident in their abilities. So after we had the handshake where we show confidence, he took me up to this conference room so he could ask me some questions. And it started out, this one I feel like is a little bit different than some interviews because it's a video position. So he had me prepare a video pitch for something that I think that the museum would be able to use. So I started with that. He's like, all right, what's your video pitch? Give me the rundown. So I told him my idea. He's like, okay, cool. Now I have some questions for you. And this is the part where they kind of go off script in some ways, where you have no idea what's going to happen. Like, you don't know exactly what they're going to ask. But to ask you some questions, it's kind of like, all right, why do you think you're qualified for this? Why do you want to work here? If you had this kind of problem come up, how would you solve it? And things like that. And then after you've answered some of their questions and helped them understand who you are and why you want to be there and why you should be there, then they give you a chance to ask some questions. So, yeah.
Did you have questions prepared?
I did have a couple questions. One of them being like, what's one of the biggest goals here that you guys are working on right now? He's like, well, we're trying to get more people coming to the museum, which I feel like is every business ever. It's like, we want more people coming in. So I was like, okay. But I think it was more specified towards college students. They wanted a younger crowd coming in to appreciate the art.
I like art.
I do too.
I've got a lot of paintings.
Yeah.
Anyway.
But yeah, so after you answer the questions, then you say goodbye. And then you wait until you hear back from them. They'll either email you or call you and say, hey, you got the position, or hey, we're sorry, you didn't make it.
Did you get an email?
I haven't yet. They're finishing interviews today, and then I think it'll be a couple days before they get back. So
They'd be crazy not to take you.
They would be. but yeah,
Sounds like fun.
that'll be my first like real video job. Because this, I mean, in a way, it's a job, but
We're
it's
making
like
money.
we hired ourselves.
We'd like to make more money.
We would love to. Please like and subscribe. We love your support. All right. So what about you? I feel like you have some experience with interviews.
I have a lot of experience. I've had 2 or 3 internships already. And I have a 4th one this summer. And the 4th one I had to do a lot of interviewing for. We call it recruiting in finance. Because there's a lot of different companies that I want to work for that do finance. And there's a lot of students that apply for them. So you have to do a lot of interviews. Usually it's like 4 or 5 rounds of interviews. For me, I applied to like 3 or 4 different companies, and I got job offers from 3 of them, which was super cool. But I'll tell you about a couple of my experiences that I thought were cool. Most of them were online on the computer, so I just sit here. You can't see, my desk is right there. And I would get a suit and tie, and I would prepare. I'd do practice interviews beforehand. I'd meet with a friend, ask him about some of the questions that might be on the interview, and then I'd practice with him and write down some notes. And then I'd always come prepared with some questions, just like Zui was saying, to ask them at the end. So this company that I'm working for this summer, when I was applying for them, I did 4 rounds of interviews. And so this first one was just like a kind of like a get to know you, super easy. And then from there, they got harder and harder, all the way up until something we call a super day in finance. A super day is an hour of interviews, all just back to back to back. And so there's a couple different teams that interviewed me to make sure that I'd be a good fit and that I had the skills in order to do what they needed me to do. And so I'm going to work in high finance. I'm working as a private wealth management analyst at a company in San Francisco that's downtown in the financial district, which is super cool. But my interviews were really technical, and so they'd ask me lots of questions about different problems in finance and how I solve them. They'd ask me about my experience in my other jobs and how that would be valuable now. And I get super excited doing these things. They're just fun to me. I remember sitting here after my first one with this company that I'm working for. I had my suit and tie on, and I did super well. I felt like I did a great job. I closed my computer right when it was done, and I just stood up and went, whoa! It was like the coolest thing. It felt so good. It was just fun. And so, yeah, I'd like to interview. You want to be the one talking a lot in that interview. I'd like to talk, as you can tell. I've talked for a long time. So they're going to ask you questions, and they just want to hear what your thought process is like. So if you're applying for a job and someone asks you a question, maybe you don't know the answer to, just try to think about maybe how you would solve that, even if you didn't know the answer to it, because they want to hear about that thought process. They want to hear about how you solve problems. And I think that applies to any job interview. And so if that's something you're struggling with, if you're applying for a job, if it's just talk through how you solve the problem, and they'll recognize that you're confident and that you're intelligent. So yeah, I like it a lot.
Yeah. I feel like it's a stressful process for me. I don't know if you feel that. You enjoy it.
It is stressful. It's good stress, though.
It's interesting because I personally have not had a lot of interview experience. I think I've done one other interview before this one. So it's like, you never know exactly what they're going to ask, but I love the idea of like preparing for it and thinking through, okay, what might they ask me, and having ideas of what I'm going to say.
Yeah.
It makes it easier. You already have like kind of a set script of like what you're going to say, which can be good and bad. If they go off script, then you're like, oh wait, what do I say?
My interviews, one of them, one of my friends works at this company I'm working at this summer, and he knew all the interview questions because he had a couple other friends that were applying that were going before me, and so he would just send me a list of all the questions. And so it was so funny. There was a couple times where they asked me something that I wasn't prepared for, and I'm like, oh.
And then you fake it.
Yeah.
You say the best that you can, and then you move on.
Yeah.
It's the best you can do, right?
It's just like speaking English with someone. Just do the best you can do. It's fine.
That's actually a really solid comparison, because like a lot of people learn languages and they're too scared to speak. Like, they're too scared to ever pull up to the interview. They
Yeah.
don't they don't go and put themselves out there because they're too worried that they'll make a mistake, and they never see the progress from it.
Yeah.
So if you're learning, speak, try.
Put yourself out there. That's how you
Yeah.
get it done.
Yep.
Just get it done. I have a quote. I'm going to pull it off my... I like to keep little sticky notes of quotes. So this one says, it doesn't need to be perfect. It just needs to get done. So it's the same with learning languages. Nothing you do needs to be perfect. You just need to put some effort into it. Because if you are, then you're beating the rest of the competition, or you're beating the rest of everyone else around you.
Mm-hmm.
If you're too scared to even try, you're never going to make any progress. So
Yeah. We have a lot of people ask us, like, if I'm just starting English, where should I start? And that's like, just start. It doesn't really matter where you start. Because at some point, everything you do is just going to be adding on to something else that you've already learned.
yeah.
So, I mean, if we were to recommend where to start in some ways, we would probably say, pick a conversation that you want to have and learn some phrases and some vocabulary and practice that. Start there. And then pick another conversation and another one and start building. And from there, you'll build it into your English speaking skills.
An empire.
Truly an empire.
Well, cool. Thanks for joining with us. I hope you liked learning about what job interviews are like. And I hope you're not too nervous to just take the first step, get out there, start improving your English.
Golen.
Bye-bye, yeah? Coolio.
Rad.
That was authentic and fun.
That was great.